friends at Microsoft. Windows 95, folks, is designed in the program to create an audit report of your hardware and software, everything in your computer. If you register online via the Microsoft network or Microsoft's BBS, all of the details of your system, unbeknownst to you, will be uploaded to Microsoft. Talk about Big Brother. This is it. The original article that blew this wide open appeared in Computer Reseller News over a year ago. Now, just in case you think that that was a fluke and they didn't really put it in there and Cooper's full of it, well, folks, it's not a fluke. And as usual, I'm certainly not full of it. Although sometimes I wish I were, because it would mean we didn't have to pay any attention to all this crap. But unfortunately, it's true. Now, there was a column called In Short in Information Week on page 88. This is Information Week magazine, May 22nd, 1995, right before the release. The column is called In Short, page 88, Information Week, May 22nd, 1995. Microsoft officials confirm that beta versions of Windows 95 include a small viral routine called Registration Wizard. Wizard. It interrogates every system on a network, gathering intelligence on what software is being run on which machine. It then creates a complete listing of both Microsoft's and competitors' products by machine, which it reports to Microsoft when customers sign up for Microsoft's network services. Due for launch later this year, customers must actively disable the routine if they don't want it to run. Now, if you're not a programmer, forget it. You would never know how to disable this routine. The implications of this action and the attitude of Microsoft to plan such an action beggars the imagination. And it may be just a very small implication of what is to come. Now, folks, the way to get around it is don't use Microsoft Network. Don't register online with Microsoft. And don't ever call Microsoft's bulletin board. It's as simple as that. Or you can find yourself a programmer that knows how to disable this thing. You see, what's so dangerous about this, folks, is a fellow got hold of the beta test CD of Win95, and he set up a packet sniffer between his serial port and the modem. So when you try out the free demo time on the Microsoft network, it transmits your entire directory structure in the background. That's what he found. This means that they have a list of every directory and potentially every file on your machine, your financial records, the set of books that you use to keep track of your business. Oh, yeah. All of your friends and relatives, their addresses and telephone numbers. Your newsletter mailing list of all the people you promised you would never give out their name and address. It would not be difficult to have something like a file request from your system to theirs without you even knowing about it. This way they can get a hold of any juicy routines or files or papers or letters you've written, your books, and I don't mean books that you read, I mean your financial records, and claim them as their own if you don't have them copyrighted. How about that? See, Big Brother is not an invention. Big Brother
Sister. Folks, I'm sure you have all noticed that in the last several years there's been a spate of movies about some unknown germ or virus that springs up out of nowhere and just decimates the human race. There's a couple playing in theaters now, and there's one that was just shown on television not too long ago. Of course, we had the Andromeda strain and all kinds of things. Now, for those of you who have been listening to me for quite a long time, I described to you a project called MK Naomi, and I told you about this years ago, wrote about it in my book. That would be used for a Malthusian population decimation scheme. When I was attached to the Office of Naval Intelligence, I learned about Project MK Naomi. And I learned that they were trying to develop a biological agent, a biological warfare agent, which would attack the autoimmune system of the human animal and thereby render production of a vaccine impossible. You see, it doesn't do any good to build up the immune system if what is killing you thrives by eating the immune system. That was the purpose of it. And I documented the legislation in my book where they testified in front of Congress that that's exactly what they wanted to do, and that Congress allotted them millions of dollars to accomplish it. Well, they did. Whatever it is, and however it's caused, and however it works, that's AIDS. In MK Naomi, they were also working on quite a few other biological warfare projects. And we believe that they tested the results of one of them in 1976 in an African country called Zaire. Never before in the history of the world had anybody ever heard of or seen or experienced any disease caused by anything called an Ebola virus. Never. Well, it just sprung up out of nowhere, and wow, what do you know, just by happenstance, there was one of these medical teams on the site. And they went in there and found everybody dead. I mean, everybody. Nobody survived. They quarantined and burned everything and said they brought specimens back to the United States. And then later we saw on television where they brought some monkeys from somewhere, and they found this Ebola virus in the monkeys. Does that sound a little bit similar to the AIDS virus coming from green monkeys? These people are fixated. Now, all of a sudden, guess what's going on? Unbelievable. You see, there was a study made during World War II to determine the impact of the returning soldiers upon the economy. The results, who knows whether they were legitimate or not, the results mobilized a certain segment of the ruling class, the elite, we call them. A second secret study was conducted in 1957 by scientists which met in Huntsville, Alabama. It confirmed the results of the first. What they said to those who ruled the world was that civilization as we know it would collapse shortly after the year 2000 unless the population was seriously curtailed. Was this a legitimate study? I don't know. But I know what they said. The study expressed a concern, folks, that since atomic weapons existed, they would ultimately be used. With the pressure of an expanding population, it made atomic war look inevitable. So using these things as excuses, Congress adopted this disarmament plan and created the USS Disarmament Agency. Dwight Eisenhower said in 1957, and listen closely to me, quote, as a result of lowered infant mortality, longer lives, and the accelerating conquest of famine, there is underway a population explosion so incredibly great that in little more than another generation the population of the world is expected to double, end quote. They then conducted a third study, and this one was done by the Club of Rome. It ended in 1968. The purpose of the study was to determine the limits to growth. The result was the same. The Club of Rome was commissioned to develop a computer model of the world so as to predict the outcome of corrections made to social and economic structures by the elect. The Club of Rome, folks, was also asked to develop a computer model of a new world order. Both of these tasks were accomplished. You can read about it. None of this is hidden. You have the same access to the same information that I have. They did a lot of studies. Some were done to determine a method to arrest the population explosion before the point of what they called no return would be reached. It was determined that an immediate attack on the problem would involve 2 points of intervention, and all of you remember them. The first was to lower the birth rate, and the second was to increase the death rate. To lower the birth rate, they instituted several programs. The first was the development of positive birth control methods using mechanical, diaphragm, and condom, chemical, foam, and birth control pills, and medical, sterilization, abortion, and hysterectomy. And for several years, they were secretly sterilizing people against their will in hospitals in third world nations. All of these were developed, and all of them were implemented. And if you were paying attention, you know exactly when this happened. It was shortly after these studies were finished. They started getting tongue-tied now. They started the women's liberation movement with the demand for free abortions. All of a sudden, an organization called Planned Parenthood sprang up, and abortion clinics began to grow on street corners across the country. They used pro-choice as their rallying cry. They started to encourage homosexuality, and gay liberation was born. You see, homosexuals, folks, don't have children. And some of you older folks will remember that zero population growth became a very hot subject at cocktail parties. But individual freedom, the heat of the moment, the back seat of a nice cherry Chevy at the drive-in, that was the heat of the moment, let me tell you. Religion and the old blue laws sabotaged a lot of these efforts, and while zero population growth became a reality in some areas, population increased rapidly in others. Now, they determined that the only alternative left to them was to increase the death rate. Now, how do you increase a death rate? It's a difficult thing to do. No one wants to pick people out of a crowd and line them up for execution. Neither did anyone relish the possible consequences of an enraged public upon discovering that they were being systematically murdered. Of course, a very short but very deadly global war using nuclear weapons upon select population concentrations was contemplated. And to tell you the truth, it has not been ruled out to this day. And I'm telling you right now, if they can't get their way by any other means, they will create a third world war. The fact that such a population control, ladies and gentlemen, was even contemplated, or can even still be contemplated today, confirmed the worst fears of those who had participated in the first study in 1957. The war's been put on the back burner to simmer, but it could still become a reality. And they would probably blame it upon a bunch of terrorists who set off
to more easily be able to communicate and talk with their neighbors. When someone came to visit, they did not turn on a radio or a television set. They sat in the parlor and talked to each other. They conversed. And they played games. And they expressed humanity. When radio came along, much of that changed, although there was still a great deal of communication between people, and amongst family members there were times when everyone sat in complete utter silence listening to the radio. And then came television. It's all stopped dead in its tracks. There's going to be some problems on the internet. And so you can brace yourself for this. I'm going to assure you of this. These problems will be the excuses that will be used to stifle free speech and to control the internet and to control what can travel over the internet, who can do it. Eventually there may be even licenses required to use the internet for anything other than sending email. Now, I'm making this prediction based upon what I can see right now and based upon what the government has already proven to us that they want to do. So knowing how badly they want to control information and control the internet, and remember it was the government that set this whole system up in the first place, whether you understand it or not, and whether you realize it or not, they didn't do it for altruistic reasons, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't decide to allow the public in on this because they thought the public needed to know all this information. No, they did it with the ultimate goal of everything eventually going digital, ladies and gentlemen, over a worldwide network that since they set it up, they will eventually be able to control. And understanding human nature and the abuses that some people will heap upon others and will take advantage of this huge, vast informational highway, understanding the human nature in all of this, they're going to use that for the ultimate end excuse to bring total control on all of it. And it's going to be a hard fight. It's not going to be easy for them, but I guarantee you, in the end, they're going to win. They're going to win. And if you don't believe that, from Nexus, Volume 2, Number 23, will mobile phones become mobile ID tags? Not many people realize that the technology exists to track a person's whereabouts from their mobile phone handset via certain types of satellite. The next step in our technological evolution from the consumer's point of view is that virtually everyone will have their own personal mobile phone with their own personal mobile ID number. Each of these mobile phone handsets emits a virtually continuous signal, which is picked up by satellite or ground tower and relayed on. It is rumored that most handsets emit this signal even when the power is turned off. It is any big brother's dream come true in terms of knowing where everyone is at any time. It was announced in the United Kingdom newspapers recently that by 1998, mobile phones will go global. Your handset
will give you access to a satellite-based system that will allow calls to be made practically anywhere on Earth. Iridium, a consortium of 17 major companies led by Motorola, proposes to launch 66 satellites in orbits crossing both poles, ensuring a satellite will fly over every spot on Earth at least once every 9 minutes. At any one time, at least 3 satellites will be in view, enabling the handset's precise position to be located. Source, the Weekly Telegraph, United Kingdom, number 173, 8 November.
Have you heard about the new digital angel? Something I've been predicting for years. And actually they've had it in various forms, but now this is serious. Now they've got this little computer chip thing called a digital angel. It was just developed. It was unveiled down in San Diego recently by the company that created this thing. And they can implant it under your skin, or under pet's skin, or under your children's skin, or under a prisoner's skin, or under anybody's skin, and track this person wherever he goes by satellite. And not only that, but they can program this thing to monitor your heartbeat and your respiration and all kinds of things, and report all of this stuff, not just your location, but what's going on in your body, to a satellite, which then reports it to whoever I guess wants to know the information. It's called a digital angel. It's on the website. Go read it.
Friday, October the 22nd, 1993, the Arizona Republic Business Section. Editor Don Nicholson. Orbital's messaging system gets federal okay. Republic Staff and Wire Services. Dulles, Virginia. Orbital Sciences Corporation, a space-age company with a major manufacturing facility in the Phoenix area, said Thursday that it has received federal approval for its satellite-based messaging system. The go-ahead from the Federal Communications Commission paves the way for final licensing of the OrbCom system within the next few months and the start of commercial services in 1994, said Alan Parker, president of Orbital Sciences OrbCom unit. Orbital's Space Data Division in Chandler, with about 870 employees, is developing the ground stations through which electronic signals will be transmitted to and from a planned array of 26 OrbCom satellites circling the Earth. Orbital Sciences predicts that OrbCom systems will be able to send or receive short messages worldwide for only a few cents apiece on pocket-sized communicators priced from about $50 to $400, depending upon their features. Potential uses include mobile communications in emergencies, two-way electronic mail for palm-top computers and remote monitoring of such industrial complexes as offshore oil platforms. Those of you who have brains should be making connections by now. The 1994 target date for starting the messaging service is up to 5 years ahead of multi-billion-dollar voice systems proposed by Motorola Incorporated, L'Oreal Corp., and TRW Corporation, Parker said. Unlike Motorola's project, called Iridium, and those of other potential competitors, OrbCom would not handle voice communications. Instead, it would use pager-like devices and pocket computers to send and receive messages that would appear on a screen. Now you should be making even better connections here. In February, Orbital Sciences launched the first experimental OrbCom satellite aboard its Pegasus winged rocket. The satellite network is planned for low Earth orbit about 400 miles into space to provide global coverage. The big advantage for OrbCom is cost. While the Iridium system of 66 satellites is expected to cost about $3.4 billion, and TRW's 12-satellite Odyssey system would cost $1.3 billion, Orbital Sciences expects OrbCom's constellation of small satellites to cost $100 million to $125 million. Also on Thursday, Orbital Sciences announced third quarter net income of $1.16 million on revenues of $48.74 million,
up from a net of $1.12 million on revenues of $47.04 million in last year's third quarter. Compiled from reports by Bloomberg Business News and Guy Webster of the Arizona Republic. Now, folks, let me get into the meat of the matter here, because there's a lot of meat, and it really matters, believe me. Orbcomm's Global Two-Way Wireless Communications Service facts. The Global Wireless Communications System is the world's first wireless two-way data and message communications system providing coverage everywhere on Earth. The global system includes 26 microstar satellites circling the Earth in low orbits, one or more gateway Earth stations in each country where services are offered, 4 in the continental United States, and 1 intelligent network control center in each country. Orbcomm uses narrowband, very high frequency, or VHF frequencies between 137 and 150 megahertz. And so that you can gauge this, those of you listening on shortwave are listening on 5.810 megahertz. Commercial service scheduled to begin mid-1994 in the United States. I told you folks this would be a pivotal year. Orbcomm communicators are priced from $100 to $400. They're easy to use, small in size, lightweight, and have a very long battery life. Subscribers transmit at 2,400 bauds per second and receive at 4,800 bauds per second, which according to the latest technology is slow. Standalone pocket-sized two-way Orbcomm communicators with alphanumeric keypad and viewing screen for messaging. One of the reasons, folks, that it's slow is that that's a way to sell it, but that's not its true purpose. Has a simple pager size, Orbcomm communicators for integration with data collection and monitoring devices on industrial equipment, pipelines, and ocean buoys, and for standalone use as emergencies transmitters. Laptop and palm-top computers and personal digital assistants, or PDAs, equipped with Orbcomm PCMCIA Type 2 cards to provide convenient two-way wireless email capability. Ready communications access everywhere on Earth, on a boat, in a truck or car, hiking or working at a remote job site. Are you beginning to get the picture? Simply send a message from any telephone, fax machine, email, terminal, or another wireless mobile service, or in the opposite direction to another Orbcomm subscriber. Easy retrieval of messages from Orbcomm's central electronic post box or from a remote database. Confirmation of message receipt, built-in low-cost position location, built-in low-cost position location capability, vital to emergency, and tracking applications, and the ability to report GPS and LORAN-C determined positions. Automatic roaming capability anywhere in the United States or the world. Communications in buildings through interconnections with paging and other mobile data systems. The applications meet the needs of millions of customers around the world who have no access to simple, reliable, and low-cost communications, and those who need true seamless communications capability in business or personal activities. Orbcomm data communication services, one-way receive only, and two-way communications between a subscriber's office and remotely located unmanned monitoring equipment, sensors, and activators. Typical applications include cargo tracking, environmental monitoring, animal tracking, remote monitoring and controlling of pipeline, industrial, and agricultural equipment, law enforcement. Orbcomm message communication services, two-way communications between standalone Orbcomm communicators or other mobile messaging or computing devices equipped with Orbcomm capability. Typical applications include personal and business messages, search and rescue services, fleet management communication services, automotive towing services. Orbital Sciences Corporation and its wholly owned subsidiary, Orbital Communications Corporation, or Orbcomm,
formed a joint venture with Teleglobe Incorporated to develop, operate, and market the Orbcomm system and services worldwide. Orbital, located in Dulles, Virginia, very close to the Central Intelligence Agency headquarters, is a space technology company that designs, manufactures, operates, and markets a broad range of space products and services. Orbital's 1992 revenues were approximately $175 million. Teleglobe, headquartered in Montreal, Canada, is the world's 5th largest international communications service provider. It provides all international communications services for Canada, except for that with the United States. In 1992, Teleglobe's consolidated revenues were approximately $1,045 million. Orbcomm service capabilities meet the needs of diverse commercial and civil government markets. One of the major capabilities outlined here in the charts are military, vehicle location, intrusion detection, customs and law enforcement, stolen property recovery, boxcars and containers, animal tracking, remote access monitoring, environmental monitoring, search and rescue, which means, folks, they're going to know exactly where you're at. Logistics control of trucks and their cargoes. Are they putting monitoring devices in new vehicles rolling off the assembly lines of major automobile and truck manufacturing plants in this country? That's what it looks like on here, folks. How are they going to use this for search and rescue unless you have something on you that shows them where you are at? Animal tracking. Most people don't understand it. Most people didn't make the connection in biology class in high school when if they had a good teacher they were told that human beings are animals. We are part of the animal family. We are mammals. How about that? Make you think a little bit, folks? I hope so. One of the gateways, there are 4 in the United States, is in Washington State. One is in Arizona, and this information came to me from militia intelligence. One is in New York State, and one is in Georgia. And that pretty much says it, folks. That pretty much does it. I have all kinds of charts in this information, all kinds of company information, some confidential stuff. Sometime soon, I expect to visit the Arizona facility.
Well, folks, I think last night may have given some of you a little hope. I pray that that is so. The Miami Herald, final edition, Friday, February 16th, 1996. Orbiting eyes in sky may spy on convicts. Sex offenders would be among felons tracked by new electronic watchdog. How many years have they been telling me that nobody would ever be tracked by a satellite? Here it is, right here, right now. They have the technology. They're putting it out to the prisons. Prisoners will be the first ones implanted or hung with a device where they will be tracked for 24 hours a day, every day, by satellite. And someday, they will have the capacity to monitor everybody on this earth. in some manner, most likely by satellite.
Well, we saw the MasterCard Master Chip come into play this week, the new microcircuit card that MasterCard is using. And that's interesting because it accompanied the announcement of the INS getting $72 million in their budget to do a database for supposedly to detect illegal aliens, but they're going to make it available to all employers to check their employees with, which means they're going to be checking for Social Security numbers, and if you don't have one, you can't work.
From what I understand, they're going to institute the card, so to speak, amongst certain age groups to begin with, and what they're going to justify this with is to stop the illegal immigration into this country.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it. They're saying it's for our own good because we have so many illegal aliens and they're taking Americans' jobs. So they're going to use this as a way to screen all of us, not just illegal aliens, but all of us. And if you don't have a Social Security number, you won't work. Now then, on the younger end of the scale, we've got them making mandatory, the inoculations mandatory. And we had a caller into the program this afternoon that said a nurse in our city, Indianapolis, had said they were now putting chips in children, babies, when they were born, if the parents wanted them. Now, it's already gone that far.
Well, I can see how they would justify something like that to people who didn't know better.
Well, they were using these originally. They planted these chips in dogs. Now, all the humane societies are putting these chips in dogs, and they're telling people it makes it easy to identify the dog and to find a lost dog. But I found an article in Maine where the police were saying this is the best police enforcement tool they'd ever had for going after the owners of stray dogs and charging them with offenses of leaving their dogs loose.
Oh my God, no pooper spooper.
Another way to get a tax, another tax collection mechanism. That's what it's become.
That's correct.
Well, I love animals and I love dogs, but I'm not quite ready to give up my rights so that we can find Fluffy.
Exactly. Or find Billy. Because what good is an ID chip in a child? I mean, let's don't even talk the constitutional aspects of it. Why would you want a chip put in your child that could come loose, float to the child's heart, kill him instantly? Is only good if they find the child dead somewhere for identification purposes, and has all sorts of potential health complications. Why would you want that?
That's right. Health complications is right. You actually could get attached to this health plan through that kind of a thing.
That's enough.
Well, folks, I think last night may have given some of you a little hope. I pray that is so. The Miami Herald, final edition, Friday, February 16th, 1996. Orbiting eyes in sky may spy on convicts. Sex offenders would be among felons tracked by new electronic watchdog. How many years have they been telling me that nobody would ever be tracked by a satellite? Here it is, right here, right now. They have the technology. They're putting it out to the prisons. Prisoners will be the first ones implanted or hung with a device where they will be tracked for 24 hours a day, every day, by satellite. And someday, they will have the capacity to monitor everybody on this earth in some manner, most likely by satellite.
You watch on, it amazes me, people watch on Saturday night, cops, top cops, tough cops, 911. All of these stories that are glorifying the police state, and they're falling right into the manipulation as they watch police with no search warrant, with no court order, break down people's doors, tear out their walls, rip open their mattresses. All in the name of the war on drugs.
Pretty sneaky.
It's pretty sneaky, all right. You see them stop people on the streets, and the guy's got $400 in his pocket. They don't press any charges. They didn't even have any reasonable suspicion to stop the person and search him. And what do? They take their money, and they don't give it back.
And America's watching this. And the stupid idiots, yes, you stupid idiots, you sit there and watch it, not realizing that when you take away that man's freedom, you've also taken away your own. You see, because they can do the same thing to you. Just because you talk a way that they don't like you talking, or because you wear red shoes and they don't like red shoes, they can do the same thing to you. And under the new law, without a court order, without a search warrant, they can break down your door, they can rip open your mattresses, your couches, your walls, they can trash your house. All in the name of the war on drugs. And let's say they don't like the color of your shoes. All they have to do is drop a little pouch of cocaine in your living room, behind your couch, and find it and say, aha, you're a drug dealer. What happens then? Now they can confiscate your house, all your possessions, all your property, all your bank accounts, all your cars, boats, vacation cottages, whatever you have, and they can auction it off within 24 hours without ever even pressing charges against you. Without a court order, without due process, without just compensation. And there's not a damn thing that you can do about it. Not a damn thing.
At least right now.
At least right now. And the reason you can't do a damn thing about it is because you're the one who brought it about through your stupidity. You're mentally crippled. You're operating from a position of ignorance, apathy, abdication, irresponsibility. And we're losing our country, our freedoms, everything.
Now, these are strong accusations of the American public. What do you hope to accomplish by angering the very audience that you want to watch and listen to you?
Go prove me wrong. Go make me the idiot. In so doing, you're going to find out what the truth is, and maybe you'll wake your up. And if you do, maybe we can save our country. Because I don't really care at this point whether you get mad at me or not. My country's disappearing. My freedoms are disappearing. My daughter's going to live as a slave in the New World Order if you people don't wake up and help me. So, if I had a 2x4, literally, I would smack you upside the head with it. I don't care if you get mad at me. It's beyond that state. You know, I'm willing to put my life on the line. Why would I care if you get mad at me? Mm-hmm. You know? People say, well, don't you feel threatened? Don't you feel like your life is in danger? Are you kidding? You're the people who sent your sons and daughters to fight an illegal, immoral, unjustified war in the Middle East? And that didn't bother you a bit that they might have got killed over there, and you're worried that I might get hurt or killed? Right here, really defending my country? Really fighting in the defense of the Constitution?
Right.
The last fire will rise behind those eyes. Black house will rock.